All right, guys. This episode was brought to you by Muertos Coffee, 30 Seconds Out, and Boost Oxygen, and also our buddies at Manscaped. Christmas is right around the corner, and we have a perfect gift for you if you haven't gone over and checked this out. What do we got from Devin?
Well, like you're saying, the holidays are right around the corner, and what better than to give the gift that keeps on giving, where you can keep your jingle balls trimmed up and looking nice. Give the man in your life that, you know, he might need a little extra trimming downstairs. Give him the gift of helping him clean up down there with the Perfect Package 3.0. Comes with the new Lawnmower 3.0, the revolutionary trimmer with skin-safe technology so you won't nick the jingle balls. It also comes with the Crop Preserver and Crop Reviver, which are a ball deodorant and ball toner. And you might as well throw in the Manscaped nose and ear trimmer, the Weed Whacker. And that's, you know, helps trim up those sensitive face holes, you know. But comes with that same skin-safe technology, so you don't have to worry about any nicks there as well. So why don't you head to manscaped.com, use promo code FAIL at checkout and get 20% off and free shipping. That's promo code FAIL at checkout for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com.
The men in your life will not be sad by this. They're going to be absolutely stoked. Head over now. Check them out.
And Manscaped actually has a new cologne coming out too.
They do. In January.
Yep.
We're dropping a new cologne.
So keep an eye out for the new cologne and
we're
keep
gonna
your
be
man
talking,
smelling good.
We'll be talking about that in the weeks to come.
Yep.
So stay tuned. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, follow. We're on YouTube and every platform podcasts are found. Also, head over to anchor.fm if you want. You can also support us for as little as $1 a month. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
What up? All right, here we go.
What's going on? Came in way too hot. Way too hot.
Tell me you're okay.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Just Another Failure podcast with myself, Devin, my buddy Matt over here. And we got a big one today, buddy.
Yeah, we do.
got a big one.
Where is it?
Where's
the big one?
Yeah.
We got a big one. We got a big guy today.
We got a big one. we got some skateboarding royalty with us today.
An absolute living legend.
I mean, he once held the record for highest air on a vert ramp. He created his own signature trick, has his own legendary shoe. He's been featured on one of my favorite childhood memories of playing video games, Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
Great game.
Great game. And they just re-released this game.
Yep. And he was even named Skater of the Century. Oh, wait, hold on. He's also in the Skateboard Hall of Fame, too. Thank you for joining us on Just Another Failure podcast. How are you, Steve Caballero?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, stoked to be a part of this little chat.
Yeah, it's been cool. Steve's an awesome guy. I've gotten to know you probably like almost 10 years now. No, you know, maybe a couple less, but I met him through a good buddy of mine, Chris Malazzo, out of the Bay Area. Steve's originally from the Bay Area, San Jose.
Yep, born and raised.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I remember we used to see Steve every now and then at the skate park, and then my buddy Chris was helping Steve with some moto stuff, and I got to go ride Zaka Station, the old infamous Zaka Station, with Steve one day, and hit it off and became buddies and stayed in touch. And Steve invited me to some cool events that he used to hold called Skater Cross. Any word of that coming back?
Yeah, actually, I just rode with Solomon,
who
was my partner in Skater Cross, and we just went up to McCain Valley and did some trail riding. And I think we're about ready to do another one, but then the whole COVID thing hit, and so no events have been really happening.
Yeah.
And so,
Shut down.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been a while. Solomon kind of took a break on dirt bikes. He started a family. He also started a business called Pizzanista.
Love his pizza.
Yeah. So he's been super busy, but lately he just moved here to Oceanside, which is really close to me.
Oh, he left downtown LA.
Oh yeah, he's gone from there. He's migrated south, closer to me, and we've been skating and riding moto together, and just hanging out with our families together. But with Mike McGill as well.
Yeah.
Too. So
a bunch of just legends in this area.
Yeah, I mean, it's just great. I mean, I've been down here since 2014, and it was a great move for me. I just love this area. There's so much to skate. There's a lot of moto. Just the music, the art scenes is awesome. And when I moved down here, I was like, man, I should have moved down here like 10 years ago. But it is what it is, and I'm glad to be here now.
Yeah, no, I've been buddies with you, and I've talked to you about your story, and I've listened to you on other radio shows, podcasts throughout the years, and I've gotten to hear your story. It's very unique. But you used to travel a lot to Southern California as a pro skater growing up and getting in the scene. Was moving to SoCal like kind of ever a thought for you, like in your teens or earlier days of skating? Did you ever think about coming down here earlier?
No. I mean, normally when you grow up in a certain area, you kind of like fall in love with just being where you're from, and you never even think about leaving, your zip code. And I always kind of told myself, it's like, yeah, when I'm not able to afford to live in the Bay Area, then maybe I'll move somewhere else. But then it was kind of the other way around. It's like my house was worth so much money, and I found out what I could buy down here, which was even a better area and a better place to bring up my kids, that I thought, oh, you know what? I think I should sell my house, and because I'm going to actually do well, because I overpaid in 2001 for my house in Campbell, $300,000 just to get the house.
Oh man!
And I ended up making 300 over the price that I bought it.
So it worked for you in the long run.
So yeah, so I was like, if I get out now, I'll be up.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so we moved down here, moved the family, moved the kids down here, and now I'm a SoCaler.
Big SoCal guy.
It's kind of hard to go back because I'm again from the Bay Area, Northern California, and like you said, there's a bit of just where you're from, where your home is, and like leaving that. And it's hard for me now that I've been in SoCal for so many years to actually see myself going back to Northern California, where I came from. Like, that's home, and I love visiting my family and parents, but Southern California is really just taking me for like what it is. I love the scene. I love having skating and moto and mountain bike riding pretty much 365 days a year, and we could do some of the best activities all the time down here. You can't beat that.
And surfing. Which I can't do.
I suck at surfing, man.
But someday. But yeah, you're right. You're right. Just the opportunities that arise being down here. When I moved down here, I got way busier with skating, way busier with art, music, moto. And I just felt like I just fit in to the SoCal, life. And, all my sponsors and everybody that support me are kind of down in this area anyways. So it was just, it just made sense to be down here.
Yeah.
And, it hyped me up. It got me more, amped, excited about everything that I do, on a way gnarlier level. And I was accessible. I could go to LA, I could go to Huntington Beach, and then come back here and sleep, versus living up north. I would be taking a flight, a hotel, just
rental
to get down
car,
here. Everything.
Buddy picking you up, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes it way more accessible, especially when the whole industry is down here, right? And so,
yeah.
But, you being who you are in the pro skate industry, you've been able to design skate parks and stuff, right? And didn't you get to work with, Lake Cunningham? A little bit, and
a little bit.
Some with Fremont, right?
Lake Cunningham, I was came to a couple meetings and kind of suggested a few things. I was more involved with the Vans Milpitas.
Oh, at the Great Mall.
Yeah, at the Great Mall. They had an indoor skate park Vans put together, and I was basically got to pick what I wanted to have there.
So
I had a lot of influence on the street course. The washboard that was kind of a replica of a run that was at Winchester Skate Park in the early 80s, to a clam bowl that they built. But yeah, so that park, I got a lot of input, and only because it was, designed and run by Vans.
That's so awesome, man.
Yeah. So let's actually talk about the early days. Like, how did you get into skating, and what was it like growing up in like the early days of skating?
How I got into skating was basically how any kid gets into it. It was around, it was popular. It was kind of like considered a fad in the mid 70s. There was skateboards sold at department stores. There was magazines at the convenience stores. But in Northern California, there was no skateboard parks. There weren't any built. And then I started reading these skateboard magazines and seeing that these parks were starting to be built in Southern California, and hoping and wishing that one day I could come to, SoCal and skate one of these skateboard parks that were being built. And then, so I used to come out every year to Disneyland with my dad. And one year, I heard that there was a park being built called the Concrete Wave in Orange County. It was right across the street from Disneyland. I asked him if he could take me and my best friend. So I ended up getting my pads and my board and bringing it with me to our trip to SoCal, and got a membership and skated there the whole day and just fell in love with it. And I just fell in love with skateboarding. I just thought this is the coolest thing. They had snake runs, they had a half pipe, they had a pool, and I'd never had skated anything like that before. I mean, anything that I did beforehand was just kind of like sidewalk surfing and going down my driveway and really just building like a little quarter pipe made out of like makeshift
wood
that was just laying
bricks
around.
and everything like that, stacking them up to make it work, right?
So, and then, a year later, two parks popped up in NorCal, which was Winchester and Campbell Skate Park. And I ended up becoming a local there, and got on the skate park team with Campbell, and started entering competitions and just getting better and better to the point where we actually traveled down to Southern California in Escondido, actually, to go to their national contest. And Stacy Peralta and Steve Cathay were judges for this competition, and they were pros that I'd looked up to in the late 70s. And he saw me skate, he saw our team skate, and after the competition was done, he approached us, me and my buddy Clay, who won, and I actually ended up getting 5th place. He approached us and said, "Hey, starting this new company. It's called Pal Peralta, and I want you to be part of this team as an amateur rider." And I said, "Whoa, that's kind of cool." Like,
That's pretty decent, I guess.
let me ask my parents first. Right? So he gave me a month. He was coming up for a competition up there for a pro. He was still skating pro, and he came up for a Hester Series contest at Winchester. And then I gave him my answer, and I said, "Yeah, I want to ride for the team." And that's when I became part of the Bones Brigade in 1979.
That's so freaking cool, man. Like, just an epic team. Like, that name still runs forever. Like, you can go worldwide. We were talking about this last night, and like you and Hawk and the whole Bones Brigade team. You can go anywhere in the world and say your guys' names, and people instantly recognize who you guys are, which is like, that's a pretty big accomplishment to have that scale of a level. What a cool and so like the early days of the Bone Brigades, like who was the original team, who it still always is, and that we know the Bones Brigade as, or was there anyone different than the original team?
The original was the class of 1979, and it was me and my buddy Scott Foss from NorCal, Alan Gelfin, and Mike McGill from Florida, Mike Jezalowski and Jamie Godfrey from New Jersey, like New York area. And we got
a guest.
I think he heard us talking.
We got a special guest to the show.
Yes. This is Oliver.
How's it going?
Oliver. What's up, buddy?
For everybody who can't see this is his Frenchie, his little French bulldog. What's up?
How old is he?
Hi.
He's 2 years old.
Hi.
So you're saying Mike McGill and
yes. So then we had Stacy, and we had Jay Smith and Ray Bones Rodriguez from LA, SoCal. So that rounded out the team, and that was basically the Bones Brigade. But this was before we ever came out with a video. Hey, Oliver. Oliver, chill, bro. Chill.
He's like, I just want to be on the
Chill out.
podcast.
Chill out. I know you're excited. We got guests here. Okay?
Oh, he's out.
Yeah. Okay.
He's like, I made my
He
appearance.
just-
I'm good.
He just wanted to say hello.
He wanted his screen time.
Yeah, we got to get a cameo with him.
But when the team first was called the Bones Brigade, those were the riders.
Okay.
And then when we started making videos, the people that he focused on and the people on the team at that time was myself, Mike McGill, Tony Hawk, and Lance Mountain.
Lance Mountain, yeah.
And you know, various other like amateur skaters. But those videos that Stacy produced basically shot us up to like worldwide, you know, how would I say, notoriety.
Yeah.
You know, because skateboarding never, the only way people access skateboarding before these videos came out was just the magazines. So the magazines, when they would come out, that's when people would see tricks and they'd see contests and they'd see content of skateboarding. But as soon as the video cassette, the video camera, the video player came out, people were access to watching skateboarding, you know, and it just made it more accessible for people to get that information out quicker,
Right.
you know, and that's what elevated the team, the Bones Brigade. It elevated the company, and because we had such a great art director, Craig Stesick, and Stacy as a director in film, we got to put together these really great videos that people followed, and you know, and then the most iconic video that came out was the third video, that was the Search for Animal Chin.
Yeah, that's a great video. That was like one of my videos that I grew up on. I mean, I watched that video so many times as a kid growing up. It was awesome. Now, when did you guys kind of take skating to like an international level and like touring international and doing like international contests?
Like you turned pro in 1980, right?
Correct.
And I mean, you pretty much instantly kind of blew up. You were named rookie of the year and got your first pro model. I mean, was that like a dream come true for you as a kid, like growing up skating, and then obviously getting to travel the world, like he's saying?
Yeah, it was. You know, I definitely was inspired and looked up to the guys that I looked up in the magazines that were pros, and would hopefully someday end up in a magazine or skate these places that these guys were skating. So I just tried my best and tried my hardest to progress and get better and get recognized, and the hard work that I put in, it panned out. You know, I got noticed from my abilities at skating. And yeah, you know, when we first got on the team, Stacy said that, you know, there's going to be some big things happening for us. We're going to be traveling all over the world. You know, people are going to be asking for our autographs and photo shoots, and there's going to be a great opportunity. So, you know, don't blow it, you know, because this is an opportunity that not many people have. And I took that to heart, you know, and I just, you know, I put the equation together. It's like the more that I do my best and maintain their happiness, the more I'll continue to be able to do what I want to do. You know, if I screw up, then I won't get those chances, you know. So I always tried to do the best I could, and just, you know, trust everything that he would tell us to do, you know, because, you know, he had been a professional skateboarder at the time, and he knew the roles and which avenues to take, and we just, you know, the team, we just focused on just listening and being inspired.
Now, I mean, like, what a great role and like mentor and leadership though that Stacy brought to the team. Like, he saw the potential in a bunch of young riders that he was like, hey, I know that these guys have to be these people to the public eye, right? Like, he kind of had that leadership to you guys, like, hey, everyone's going to be watching you, so no matter what you do from now on, you know, like, you're on a world stage. And like, that's pretty cool that he was able to see that in you guys and kind of teach you guys, like, hey, this is how you guys are going to act. Now you're pretty much, what would you call it? Like, you're kind of second generation of this sport, pretty much, right? Like, it was like the Z Boys and Peralta and Jay Adams kind of were right before you, and then you're kind of a founder of the sport of skating.
Yeah, kind of second, third generation.
Yeah.
I mean, there were skaters, as you could see when you walked up here.
Mm-hmm.
You could see that whole wall
Yeah,
of skateboards.
That board collection is wild.
Pretty
Like,
amazing.
Those are from the 60s.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's not one board from the 70s up on that wall.
Really?
And the urethane wheel didn't come out until 1973.
Yeah.
So everything on that wall is either clay, steel, plastic, or rubber wheels.
Wow.
Dude, that's
So
so gnarly.
That's first generation right there.
Yeah.
Second generation would be like Stacy, Tony Alva, Z Boys, where wider trucks came out, wider boards, grip tape, urethane, the
Wheels,
urethane wheel.
wheels.
I would say that's the second generation, and that's like kind of like what I looked up to
Yeah.
and inspired to be, and so that we were the amateurs coming up, and yeah, so they're the leaders for me. These guys that I have on my wall, I really didn't even know who they were.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't go back that far as I got into skateboarding in 1976,
Okay.
and these boards are from the 60s up here.
It's pretty
So-
cool though, because you're still more or less like in the pioneer days of the sport, and like especially what the sport is now. Like you were really the pioneer to what like street skating and the culture has really turned into
yeah,
today.
you kind of like watched it evolve
I did,
into
yeah.
what it's become now.
Well, yeah, because you know, back in the day, if anyone skated vert, it was maybe a backyard pool, and then now they built pools for skate parks that were skatable. Then after the parks closed, the vert ramps came up, so we continued to progress and learn tricks on the vertical side, and then later on, late 80s, early 90s, it kind of died out, and street skating got popular, and I kind of went into that realm and that field of skating.
Now, was that weird to transition from being like a pool vert guy to like going to street skating, hitting handrails, staircases, and pyramids and stuff like that? Was that kind of a whole different?
It was different for me. It was exciting. It was a way for me to maintain my status as a pro skateboarder. It was and to try to fit into where the sport was heading. I wanted to stay relevant, so I put together a street board and I tried to learn all the street tricks and the flips and hit handrails, and I just skated what was accessible for me. And I didn't want to give up on my professional status and sponsorship, so I just kind of went with the flow and the trend of skateboarding. And I'm glad I did, because I was able to maintain through that, which later on it went back to bowl skating and vert, and so I got to reinvent myself and re-enter contest, in that arena.
I feel like it's kind of gone full circle. Like bowl skating is like huge right now. Like I feel like everyone loves still bowl skating and vert skating a lot right now. And street skating, I feel like, has kind of died out, where bowl skating is kind of a bigger thing from what it looks like, what most people are kind of interested in right now.
Well, right now, like people always ask me, they're like, "What? So what's the best era in skateboarding for you?" And I always tell, like, the current era right now is probably the most exciting. And I say this because when I first started skateboarding, there was no such thing as a free skateboard park anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, you had to pay to skate.
Yeah.
So to walk outside my door and go, 4 minutes from my house and skate a free public skate park is incredible to me. Like, I never even thought in a million years that we would have free skate parks in almost every city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to me, it's a blessing to have that opportunity to still be skating, to still experience, to go to Lake Elsinore and skate an amazing bowl that's perfect. It's an hour away, but it's a brand new park. It's something different. So it's cool to be, at my age. I just turned 56. Also a grandpa as well, so it's kind of cool.
One of the raddest grandpas out there, right?
Grandpa can shred though, huh?
I make jokes about it because it's like when you think about a grandpa, you're like, man, grandpa, he's old. That's old.
Grandpa's got moves.
Grandpa's still throwing down in the bowl.
Grandpa can shred on the skateboard and the dirt bike. That's sick.
I know, like, watching for us, like, my generation, like watching the backflip on a dirt bike, right? Like you see someone do a backflip, you're like, dude, that's insane. And then you keep watching the tricks evolve. But like with you guys, you coined the Caballero, the fakie 360, and then Mike McGill, he's the 540, right?
Yeah, the McTwist.
Yeah, the McTwist. And then Hawk with the 900. what was that like going to competitions and like you're just seeing tricks like in front of you, like one being created and two just getting bigger and bigger? Like those tricks kind of came out with you guys. Like you're the kind of the founders of those spins
We are.
and tricks. Yeah.
Yeah, because when I first entered my first skateboard contest, I mean, one of the gnarliest tricks was probably like, I don't know, rock and roll and maybe a frontside air or something, you know. And then like the tricks started happening really quick in like the late 70s, and people started inventing inverts and like certain different aerials, and like it was moving really, really quick early 80s. I mean, to be on top of your game, you had to like stand out, and the only way you stood out was you invented a trick, you know. So I worked super hard to learn everything that I could within the sport, and then think outside the box and think out what else can be done. And that's how I came up with the Caballero, was just my constant wanting to progress and stand out and do well in competition. And I knew that if you invented a trick, did something that no one else would do, you would stand out and get top placing. So,
And is it true that you did it the first time in the finals of a contest?
No. I actually brought the trick to a contest in 1980 in Marina Del Rey, at Marina Del Rey skate park. And I ended up getting 15th in that contest, even though I brought, you know, a revolutionary trick that no one had ever seen.
Really?
Yeah. So I fell, so I didn't really actually get to actually do the trick in the contest. I did it in practice, but I didn't get to do it in my run because I fell before it.
Wow.
And then it wasn't until a month later when we went to Upland at Pipeline Skate Park that I perfected the trick, and I was actually ended up doing it in the contest and winning.
Wow.
That's crazy.
So, and yeah.
So let's go back to like what you were talking about, where you kind of made the transition of doing both street and vert. Like you had a massive year in, I think, 1987 where you won both street and vert at the World Championships, and then that's when you also set a record for highest air on the vert ramp. Like, what was that like being? I mean, that's the top of the game right there.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'd come to a place where it was known worldwide. You know, I had a great selling deck on Palo Peralta. We were making between $10,000 and $15,000 a month on board sales.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Pretty healthy, right?
Yeah.
Decent, I'd say.
And skateboarding was growing and getting largely recognized all over the world. So we were doing tours all over. We were going to Australia. We were going to Europe. We traveled all over the U.S. I mean, we were like a band that was gigging all over the place, you know, just making our mark and leaving our mark everywhere. And because of all that hard work and all that time spent traveling and on my board, my name grew worldwide, you know. And you know, with winning competitions and putting out great video parts, I mean, it's just it's an equation for success, you know. And I just never stopped. I just never wanted to lose what I had gained when I was a kid. And you know, and being wise and taking precautions and not going for everything, you know, practicing to a point where you're not going to kill yourself and get hurt all the time. Staying away from drugs and alcohol at an early young age, staying away from relationships, women who could kind of pull you away from that focus, you know. But I like to blame my shyness on the female side as far as like staying away from relationships, you know, because it's, you know, it's funny because in high school, you know, I was always wanted to have a girlfriend and go on dates and everything, and it just never really panned out, you know, because I was too shy, and you know, I wasn't famous for anything or wasn't important. But it's funny, as soon as you start making money and become famous, the girls start rolling around.
They all start.
I wonder how that happens, right?
Right.
Yeah, weird.
Now, was it pretty tough to stay away from the party scene? Because like the skate scene and a lot of extreme sports scenes, like after contests or certain things, there's always a lot of partying going on. Like it just kind of comes with the lifestyle, right? And so was that kind of a tough thing to like kind of stay away from, or how did you kind of handle that and kind of keeping your name still pretty relevant and having fun with everyone at the same time?
Well, it wasn't tough for me because I think I gained a lot of wisdom at an early age, and I knew to stay away from certain things. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I've done my fair of drinking, fair share of drinking, and I've smoked pot before, but I was never really a heavy partier.
Yeah.
I didn't let it consume me or control me, and I didn't get addicted to these things.
Yeah.
In which I saw other people ruin their careers because they enjoyed those substances a little too much.
There was a lot of like really good skaters out there that it got that happened to them, and the party scene just got the best of them. But
it did.
I think overall, like you definitely see like this really big rise, and like a lot of you guys were like, you guys have fun and you go out there, but you don't. You manage to stay focused on what you're doing. You stay focused on the sport, and you don't really let like that outside distraction really come into your life because you see something greater that's going to be put on the world stage.
Winning becomes cooler than the partying.
Yeah.
Well, no. I did my fair share of partying as well, but I kept it controlled.
Yeah.
I didn't let it consume me. Like I said, I didn't let the partying overshadow the hard work that I put into becoming successful. So, my next high wasn't because of drugs or alcohol. It was because I wanted to skate and do well in contests.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that was my drive,
This
Oliver,
dog.
Are you okay,
Crazy.
Oliver? Oliver, are you okay? Come here, buddy.
You just want to be on the show,
Come here.
don't you, buddy?
Come here.
So we kind of chatted a little bit before this, but we were talking about you ended up becoming, obviously, now that Vans is as big as it is, you were Vans' first professional skater with a signature pro shoe.
Correct.
And the original Caballero model was a high top, right? And then later became a half cab. Oh yeah, look at that. We need to actually we need to get a shot of that right there.
Yeah, we'll bring that in.
Steve Van Doren made that for me. It's a bronze Caballero high top.
That is sick. So and then so a couple years later it became the half cab, which
It's a midsole, right?
Yeah, so that shoe, the Caballero high top, came out in 1989. Then as 1990 came around, 1991, Vans got more popular. A lot of skaters were wearing my shoe. Street skating was becoming popular. Vert skating was going down. A lot of street skaters were wearing my shoe and they were cutting it. And I saw this trend of all these skaters cutting the shoe in half.
right.
I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. I'm like, I'm gonna do that too.
Well, so let me make a real one.
Yeah. Well, I ended up cutting like 2 pairs, and I'm like, why am I even doing this? Why don't I just call Vans and tell them to let's make them like that, since that's the way the trend is going with my shoe, and then we can release them in different colorways. And then so that's the birth of the half cab. So 1992, we came out with the half cab.
That's like arguably one of the like most copied and kind of long lasting, quote unquote skate shoe that's lives up to today now. Like everyone's still rocking that same kind of model of shoe skating.
Yeah, I think we got pretty fortunate with the design of the shoe, the look, and just the combination of like the skaters that backed it back in the day. And it's it performs well too, and it looks good. So I think we got lucky with that, And if you look at it, it almost kind of looked like a Jordan.
It really does.
The high top definitely does. Yeah.
So and before I got on Vans, we were wearing Air Jordans.
Oh, is that
Really?
what so
Yeah.
that's kind of like the design-ish kind of came through that? Okay.
So I kind of bit the Jordan, and then I bit the Jumpman, and had a silhouette of me doing a half cab on the shoe because I thought that the jump man was pretty cool on the
Right.
shoe. So why don't we have me doing a half cab on the shoe, and let's call it a half cab.
That's rad.
Now, did Steve find you, or when you got sponsored?
See what I found in his mouth?
You got
It's a
the
dime.
The dog's eating the
He-
dime.
He was over there and he had something in his mouth and his lip was like this up, and I'm like, what is in your mouth? And as we're talking, I can see him chewing on something. I just reach in his mouth and I pull out a dime.
It's like the fish out of the Bible with the
Yeah.
coin.
Right?
Oliver's just making all sorts of appearances in this
Oh,
one.
yeah.
Now, Steve was pretty active in the company during this time, right? I mean,
still is.
He's still.
He's the man.
Yeah. So
Steve Endorn
Yeah.
is the man.
Steve's awesome.
Little company, Vans. I don't know.
Vans shoes, if you've heard of them. But yeah, I mean, every time I've met Steve, he's always like a super personal guy, very approachable. Anytime I've seen him at the combi or at the skate park or different events, he's always really, really cool. And you have a pretty fantastic relationship with Steve, too.
Yeah, I mean, Steve is the backbone of Vans. I mean, he's what's made Vans what it is because of his passion for the brand, making Vans fun and exciting, and he's just always giving back to the industry. And a cool thing about Steve is he listens to his riders. He's always up for promoting and trying to do something cool. And I remember when the Warped Tour started in 1995. I went on like the last leg of it on the West Coast, and I noticed, so there was only like one stage, there was a vert ramp, there was about 10 tents around, and about maybe 7 or 8 bands. And I come back from the Warped Tour and I go, Steve, like, we need to be a part of this Warped Tour. But there's these booths with vendors, and the only vendor there is the Simple brand. Remember Simple Shoes?
Simple Shoes.
And
Yep.
I'm like,
I used to skate in Simples for a
I'm
while.
like, Vans needs to have a presence here. I mean, it'd be so cool. This is a great, festival. It's like music, skating, punk rock, and then lo and behold, next year rolls around, and I hear that the Warped Tour is now called, instead of just getting a booth there,
It's the
it's
Vans
now
Warped
called the
Tour.
Vans Warped Tour.
Yeah.
So instead of just putting a booth, Steve goes all out. He just goes, I'm going to buy the whole tour.
gonna buy
We're gonna run the whole thing. How's that sound?
Yeah.
That's pretty
So,
epic.
and I think it's been really successful for Vans.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, I did, over 10 years on that tour with them every year. And I'd go out for a full month, a month and a half, and just tour the whole United States, doing demos every single day.
Warped Tour was awesome. I grew up going to a lot of Warped Tours, and the bands, the skating, it was everything that I liked as a kid all in one event. It was really, really fun. Now, kind of talking about that a little bit, you've been in quite a few bands as well. Aside from skating, you're an artist, drawing, and musical. Now, are you still currently in it? I know you still do some jams. I see you do some jams. Are you currently in a band right now, or you just kind of tag up with some people? But you've been in quite a few punk rock bands.
Yeah, so my music career starts in 1982, where I built this band from a bunch of skaters from Winchester Skate Park, a bunch of friends that knew how to play instruments, and we created The Faction. And that band was from 1982 to 1985. I went from playing bass to playing rhythm guitar in the band. And then 2 years later, 87, we started the band called Odd Man Out. And I continued playing guitar in that band. And then broke that up a few years later. In 1990, we started a kind of a grunge band because that was like popular at that time.
That's the scene, yeah.
And it was a band called Shovelhead. I went back to playing bass. So over the years I've switched back from guitar to bass, and then got tired of playing the grunge stuff because I still had a lot of love for my punk roots, and was listening to a lot of punk rock music. So I wanted to start a punk band again. So 1994, 95, I started a band called Soda, and
Great name.
with a female singer.
Okay.
And ended up playing rhythm guitar in that as well, rhythm and lead. That band probably lasted about a year because of like some internal problems with the band. But the band itself, I loved the music. I loved what we created with it. And then in between all those bands, I would do like certain little reunions with the faction. We'd get together again, play some shows, break up. And then around 2001, we actually ended up starting the faction back up again. And we played that for a while and broke up again. And we just finished our last faction show last year. We decided to call it quits. And from there, I've joined this new group put together with a local guy here. His name is Tim.
Is Jordan in this one with you?
No.
Okay.
No. And then another guy named Dylan, and we're a 3-piece. I play bass, and the band is called Urethane.
Urethane. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So, like, you had the Warped Tour with skating and music, two things that you absolutely love, and you're still playing music to this day, and you're playing shows, and you're doing gigs, and...
Dude, I met so many cool guys, so many cool bands on the Vans Warped Tour.
Yeah.
Like, it was really cool. And the cool thing about the Vans Warped Tour was touring and traveling with all these bands that you looked up to. Like, you got to, like, eat with them every day and hang out with them. They would come and watch us skate the demos. So we got to become friends with these guys because we were camping with them for, a whole month.
Yeah.
So we'd see them every single day. And I got to really... What's
up, Caleb?
Okay. So I really got to become really good friends with a lot of guys like Millencolin, Strung Out, Pennywise, Blink-182, Face to Face, MXPX, and I got to come on stage. The first band I ever played with on the Vans Warped Tour as coming on as a guest was Goldfinger.
Oh, really? You played with Goldfinger?
Yeah, at Red Rocks.
No way. That had to be way fun.
It was really fun.
You did play with Strung Out with Jordan, didn't you?
Played with Strung Out a couple times. I played with H2O. I played with Blink-182 in Hawaii. Played with Pennywise in Australia.
Pennywise is cool. Byron's a good buddy. He's a good dude. Yeah.
So, but it was cool because I'd meet these guys and I looked up to these guys, and these guys would come up to me and be like, hey, you don't know this, but when you did a tour with your band, The Faction, in like 1984 and 85, I was at that show. And I hadn't even been in a band yet. And you inspired me to pick up, instrument and play. And these guys are like top headliners.
Yeah, you're like looking at them going like...
Yeah. That's so, again, like another full circle. Like people you're looking up to, but they started out looking up to you, why they became who they were. Yeah. And then you're like, dang, these guys are super cool. But you didn't realize in the beginning, they're like, this guy is awesome right here.
No, so you don't know who you're inspiring by what you do, even to the point where like I just hung out with Jeff Ament from Pearl Jam. He lives in Encinitas now, and he has a place in Montana. We talk about the times where I played in 1985. I played in Seattle, Washington, and his band, Green River, opened up for the Faction. So two guys that are in Pearl Jam now were in a band called
Green
River.
Opened up for you guys.
And they opened up for us.
That's so crazy.
1985. So it's kind of cool. Like,
that is so wild.
That's a lot of just cool history just in like one. That's, oh man.
Let's talk about your art on the drawing side now too, because we're sitting in an art room right now. There's
an art gallery,
an art mess.
Yeah, there's pieces everywhere, and some of these drawings are awesome. So
I've always loved your love for Star Wars. I'm a big Star Wars fan, and you've always done some great Star Wars projects. The Mando over there. That's Boba Fett.
Yeah. You gotta. I don't know. You can't go wrong with pop culture.
Yeah.
Everyone loves pop culture. So when you reproduce a piece of art that is recognizable, it's going to be successful.
Yeah.
There's people that love pop culture, so they grew up with iconic, figures and images. And when you're able to create those images and kind of add your own twist to it, it's an easy sell, And it's helped me actually develop my own characters and develop things that, but everything is influenced by something,
Now, was Andy Warhol kind of like an influence for you? I know you're more like, you got kind of the Rat Fink stuff too, but I'm just trying to think like who were people that inspired you art-wise?
Well, art-wise, everybody and everything inspires me. But I really, really dig stuff like the guys that were drawing our graphics in the 80s, like
Yep.
Jim Phillips and Court Johnson from Palo Peralta. I love that style of art. But I also hung out in the hot rod scene.
Yep.
And I learned a lot about the hot rod art from the 60s, the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And yeah, so a lot of that stuff, because I love hot rods, kind of molded its way into my art, and I kind of added my own twist to it to have it relate to skateboarding.
Now, how long have you been drawing? Like, when did you kind of get into art? Has that always been a thing, or did that kind of start later on in life? Or
yeah, so art to me, I mean, it's always been a part of my life, like since I was a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone kind of likes drawing,
Yeah.
but I never really took it seriously until around 2004, 2005. I decided I want to become a legitimate artist who actually shows work in galleries, because I saw a lot of like pro skateboarders do these art shows together, and I wanted to be a part of that scene. I wanted to be a part of what they were doing, and I knew that I had to become better at drawing and better at painting. So I picked up sketchbooks and acrylic paints and brushes and pencils and pens, and I just went at it. And I bring a sketchbook with me everywhere and draw all the time, because I always, before, so around 2005 I was already like, let's see, in 2000 I was 30, so 2005, 35. I just always thought I was too old, too old to become, known as an artist. And but I just gave it a shot, and over the years, I think my art's kind of developed, to a place where people actually want to pay me money for it.
Yeah, no, I mean, some of your art's sick, and I was gonna ask, I mean, your signature like stuff on the decks and stuff is the dragon. Like, what was the inspiration behind that?
Inspiration behind the dragon was I needed an icon that reflected who I was for my first pro model. And if you look at that board up there with the
prop and the bones,
the prop and the skull, that is an old like military silhouette that was on a bomber.
Yeah.
And
I've been staring at that.
So when my first board came out, they wanted to kind of continue with the whole Bones Brigade theme, like army, military.
Yeah.
So that's what they presented to me as a graphic. And I'm like, no, I don't want that for my graphic. I mean, it looks too plain. It's too flat. There's nothing dynamic about it. I don't know if you know the image of the skull and sword.
Yeah.
The Ray Bones Rodriguez. Like, I rode that 2 years prior to getting my first pro model. So if you look at that, it has a lot of dimension, has a great shapes to it, like a great looking skull to something like.
Right, you're like, that's just kind of boring.
It's boring.
Yeah.
So.
That's that World War II.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was only because they wanted, like I said, continue with that, military theme. And I'm like, they're like, what do you want? I'm like, shoot, what do I want? So I thought about it, and I'm like, let's see, I like Bruce Lee. I love his movies. He was always known as the Little Dragon, Return of the Dragon. So, and I was born in 1964, which is the year of the dragon. So I thought, that would be kind of cool. That might kind of connect with who I am and what could represent me. So I came up with a mystical dragon, like a medieval dragon with wings. And then after a couple years, it formed into kind of like a Chinese dragon. And then from that went into like a Japanese dragon. Then,
I was going to say it has like a very like Japanese, like traditional, like tattoo style almost. Like.
Yeah. And then so you see the dragon right there on the motorcycle.
Yeah.
Then we kind of went back to that mythical dragon again, like my first graphic, and kind of adapted what I was into at that time. So that one on the motorcycle, I was really into British motorcycles, collecting those bikes. And so we had a dragon on a motorcycle. The one that came after that was a dragon playing the bass, And so we try to like incorporate what I was into the graphic to kind of, so it would relate more to me.
It's kind of funny. I have a few buddies that have like been collecting skateboards for years, and they have quite a few like your early pro models like hanging up at their house. I think I sent you a picture last time I was over there, and I was like, hey, check this one out. But it's pretty cool when I go to people's houses that collect these decks and you see them like in pristine condition on the walls, and it's kind of fun just like going through the year. So you got to have direct correlation of what you put on your deck is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we would come up with a shape that we liked, and we would try new shapes all the time. And then, but they would ask us, well, what do you want for your next graphic? And then I'd have to come up with something, So like, that one just came out, probably about 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's me doing on a flat track.
I have that
on
deck.
Harley.
That's a cool deck.
Yeah.
I have that one.
And that was a photo of someone who took a photo of me going on, like waiting to get onto the track. A guy named Adam, who's actually a flat track racer, and he just managed to capture. He was up on the bleachers, and he looked down, and I was sitting on my bike, so he caught a photo of it. He sent it to me, and I'm like, that is the raddest looking photo, man. And I'm like, man, that might be kind of a cool graphic. And then all of a sudden, like, these guys started drawing that and sending it to me, and I'm like, man, I should get the artist at PAL to redraw that. And so that's why that flat track, board came out, because that's something that I'm into. So
yeah, you got some cool bikes, and as far as that goes,
I was gonna say, like, now talk about, I mean, bringing that around full circle as well. You're super into all sorts of motorcycles now, like you're talking about, and into dirt bikes, and you guys were kind of touched on it in the beginning. You even kind of came up with skater cross, which is a crossover of a combination of both, pretty much. So
yeah, it was me and my buddy Solomon. We're pretty much mimicking surfer cross, but surfer cross is more of a real serious competition where guys race and then they actually surf for points, and they combine the thing. And we wanted to make our thing more fun and not so stressful, and have a good time. So we just invited a bunch of skateboarders who rode dirt bikes, and we just called it skater cross.
How many years did we do it? 8?
7, 6 or.
I was trying to count all my stickers, because you made the stickers every year for them, and I have them all lined up still.
It might be. I think the last one was the Wrap and Destroy.
Yeah.
I think that might be 6.
I have that shirt, and I have that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was fun, because like you said, they were pretty fun. Now, the second year, did we always skate and then I knew I was always at Milestone. Yeah. And then I remember skating at the Huntington Beach one. And then didn't you do the combi one year?
We did.
Yeah, the combi was
one year. Yeah, so we would skate the day before, and then we'd ride the next day. But it was like, they were more like expression sessions, But we took some time off the last one, and we haven't done a skater cross in a long time, so we're about due for a new one.
It was pretty cool. Solomon used to bring a bunch of pizza out there, and there was always a bunch of that's where I learned about Stance in the beginning. Ryan Kingman coming out with Stance socks, bringing us a bunch of Stance socks in the beginning, and you always met just a lot of really cool people at your guys' events, and it was just a unique culture as well too.
We had a lot of great people supporting us, like Fox Racing and Alpine Stars, and we actually had Husqvarna come out and bring bikes one year.
Oh, I remember
people
that,
try, so we always had a lot of people, supporting the event and covering it, and also bringing product, and we have free swag to give out and stuff. And then I would always make stickers, and I'd always make special t-shirts to give away to everyone who participated. So that was like fun for me, and that's when I started doing a lot of my art too. It's like, with those graphics and stuff for skater cross.
Yeah, that was a fun part for me, like just having the t-shirts from each year that I participated with it, and having the stickers. I always thought that was like a really cool concept. And then, but you kind of, because I met you through riding, you've really taken riding to the next level and becoming very active in the motocross scene. And you've ridden with Jeremy McGrath, and you've even been on a Kawasaki commercial as well. And so it's really cool seeing like your progression from skating, from art, music, to moto as well. And you found a heavy love with motorcycles, dirt bikes, and street bikes.
Yeah, well, the moto thing, like I said, I got my first bike being influenced by moto, actually watching the freestyle guys, the Metal Militia guys, on the Vans Warped Tour. Ronnie Feist, Larry Linkogel, Twitch, Deegan, Clifford Abadante, I mean,
Flying
the
Hawaiian.
all those dudes, Mike Jones,
Oh man,
Oh,
yeah.
gosh.
Tommy Clowers,
Yeah.
all those dudes. They really, Mike Metzger. They all influenced.
Colin, Scummy.
Yeah, well, those Colin Scummy were later.
Oh yeah,
They
yeah.
were the second
Yeah, they were the
generation.
second gen. Yeah, you're going first gen. Yeah.
Yeah, Carrie Hart.
Yep.
So that influenced me in Solomon to get a bike, and that was 2001. I rode for 5 years, even actually ended up getting a Honda sponsorship with Sonny Garcia, the surfer. Who else? Sean Palmer, the snowboarder.
Yeah.
Darren Ralphs, skier, and then I was a skateboarder.
That's pretty cool.
And so for 3 years, I got bikes from Honda, and I made that transition from 2-stroke to 4-stroke. From 2002 to about 2005, and then I quit riding dirt bikes completely. Got remarried, started a family, and didn't. Once I gave my bike back to Honda, I didn't buy another bike, and I stopped riding for 6 years. And then 2011, Solomon goes, "Dude, you need to ride. You need to get a dirt bike again." And then at that time, my son was old enough to ride, so he started riding. I got a new bike, and I started riding again. And then we moved down here in 2014, and I went from riding once every 1 or 2 months to riding every single weekend down here.
Yeah, well, it's way easier down here when you have all the SoCal tracks are within, couple minutes of each other.
Yeah, because I think when I went riding with you at Zaka Station that initial time, like you had just kind of gotten back into it. You were thinking about skater cross, and I remember just seeing you stepping it up at Zaka, and then we brought you over to the ranch, and you came and rode the ranch, and you guys were having a good time out there. And then just watching you progress. Then you rode McGrath's place with him, right? Didn't you go out?
Oh no, I've never been to McGrath's.
Oh, I thought you went out there and did it.
No, I'd love to someday. But yeah, so because my son was getting into dirt bikes, he wanted to go every weekend, and which in turn got me to go every weekend, and I got to ride while he, I was showing him how to learn how to ride on the kids track, and then I'd go on the vet track, and so all the riding down here, I started getting better at riding, and started racing again, and really heavily into doing a lot of street bike things, building bikes and going to a lot of bike, custom bike build shows. And it caught the attention of Cowie. I did a build with Indian motorcycles, with Roland Sands. Helped design a bike there.
I remember that one. That was pretty cool. Yeah.
That one's in the garage right now. Before that, I built a Triumph with my friend Brian Thompson, so it caught the attention of Cowie, and they wanted to get me on their brand, which in turned into doing a commercial for them as well. So, everything has just kind of been snowballing into another thing, and so it's been very successful, and, I just like to live it, if I'm about it, I like to live it.
I think that's one of the coolest things that I learned about being in Southern California is, how I really got adapted into the action sports industry. But like how you just said, like everything snowballs. It's like, I would go out and hang out with Jimmy Fitzpatrick at the house and be riding at his house. Then the next thing you know, I'm riding with Twitch and Matto and all those guys. And you start meeting those guys. Then like I meet you at Zaka Station. I come and ride skater cross with you guys. And then I meet all the skate guys through that community. But it's really cool. But everyone, like, once you kind of know someone and you get in the community, like everything just kind of snowballs. It's like, oh yeah, I'm buddies with him, and everyone's always really cool, kind of full circle, bringing it back and just kind of making you part of that action sports community, which I always thought was really unique and kind of fun once you kind of got to know everyone.
I think everyone has a slight respect for each other. It's cool getting props from, especially on Instagram, when you getting props from different riders. Like when I get props from like Taka, and Matto and Twitch, and Jared McNeil. It's just rad. It's rad to hear those guys stoked on my dirt bike riding when those guys are amazing what they do.
And that's what I was going to say is it's funny when you get like, different, areas of action sports. Like you have skateboarders going up to the moto guys going, oh my God, you guys are crazy. And then the moto guys are looking at you and they're like, you guys are crazy. Where it's like, like you're saying, there's a mutual respect because, I mean, everyone in their own category is crazy doing what they do.
Right.
But it's cool to see everybody come together like that. But I wanted to ask you, I mean, with all the success that you have had, we like to ask people on the show, since our name is Just Another Failure, we like to talk about, you know, the failing side of things and ask people like, what are some of the tough times that you had to go through, you know, the failures that you went through and overcome and, you know, got to be to that successful state?
Well, my whole life's been a failure.
Welcome to the team.
See, that's why we brought you on.
It might not look like it, but my whole life has been a failure.
Oh.
I've made mistake after mistake after mistake. But what I've learned about life is you have to fail to succeed. So even with skating, I mean, skating, you don't just pick up a board and do tricks.
Right.
You fail, you fall, you get hurt, you cry, you get pissed, you get frustrated, you get bitter. I mean, all the emotions and above.
Yeah.
And that's with everything. Music, art, moto. I mean, you got to fail to succeed. You know, even like playing chess. I'm an avid chess player, and I've lost a lot of games.
You watch The Queen's Gambit?
Oh, yeah. I love that.
It's such a great show.
Oh, I love that show.
That's funny.
You know, and it's just part of living. It's just part of learning. And when you take failure as a stepping stone to learning something new, then it's not really a bad thing. You know, I don't look at it as a bad thing, as a negative. I look at failure as a way to learn something that you're not used to or you're not familiar with, you know. And I try to teach that to my kids too. It's like, don't be afraid to fail, you know, because you're going to have to fail before you succeed. And don't be embarrassed about it. You know, don't think that, you know, there'll be people that are laughing at you or whatnot, but those are people that aren't successful because they wish that they would be vulnerable enough to be put in the same position that you are, but they're too scared.
Yeah, they don't want to try, right?
They don't want to try.
Yeah.
You know, so like I said, I've failed at every single thing. I mean, even women, you know, I've failed at relationships. You know, I'm on my second divorce now, you know, and that's, you know, that hasn't been successful, you know, but I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot about women. You know, I still need to learn a lot more.
I think we all do. Yeah.
Don't we all?
But they're different. They're not like us.
Yeah.
You know, they're not like us. They were created differently and with a purpose.
Yeah.
We were all created with a purpose. And we all got to realize that we complement each other in our own strengths and weaknesses. You know, and when you try to become one, you know, and the other one tries to become you, you know, that's when you clash. You know, it's like I was made for a purpose, and this is my strength. So let my strengths help your weaknesses, and let, you know, your strengths help my weaknesses. You know, so right now I'm in a process of, you know, learning how to be in a good relationship with somebody and learn how to be successful with that. You know, because like I said, I'm headed for divorce number 2.
Oh man.
You know, not happy about it,
Yeah.
but you know, I've learned things from it.
Part of the learning process.
And,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, and out of those 2 marriages, I have great kids out of them. You know, and I'm not sad that, you know, that I didn't. You know, I tried my best. You know, for what I was brought up with and the knowledge that I had. You know, I come from a broken family as well, so I didn't have a really good role model as a family, you know, and learning about responsibilities and relationships. I learned a lot off the streets, man. You know, I learned a lot, you know, and I was, you know, didn't grow up in a spiritual home. You know, I grew up just wondering who I was and where I came from and what, you know, and to the point where I became an atheist at one point in my life, you know. I studied a lot of Eastern philosophy, Zen and Taoism, and that brought me into like becoming like anti-God or anti-spiritual, to a point where, I had an epiphany and enlightenment in 2005, and I became a Christian, and I've learned a lot since 2005 what it is to be a Christian and what it is to have values and what it is to have morals, and I'm still learning. It's going to be a never ending process, and I've failed many times as a Christian, failed many times following God and what his will for my life, but I use those as learning experiences to project who he is, who I am in his image, and try to do the best I can with everything that I'm involved with. And the things that I'm involved with aren't too welcoming to my spiritual faith and everything. So I have to balance that out too, and have to try to work that in where I don't get caught up from where I was back in the day to where I am now. So it's a healthy balance.
Yeah.
It's a healthy balance for me.
Yeah, that's a really unique way. And like, I like where you talked about bringing your faith into this, and that's really unique too. Because yeah, I mean, we are going to fail, and as being Christians, you will fail, right? And
totally,
the scriptures tell us that. But I like what you said. Like, it's good to teach failing, right? And so I think our brand, when we started this, just another failure, like that's something that like people look at so negatively when they ask the name of our podcast. But really, like what you said right there, like if you can't own that your life's been a failure, like maybe you're not looking at it through the right lens. Because if you're thinking about it, like if you're not always learning in life, then you have to take learning with the counterbalance, which is failing, right? And so in life, we get to grow up with our family and friends and whatever in school, and they teach us X amount, X, Y, Z, but there's a lot that you still have to learn on your own. And just like skateboarding, you didn't wake up one morning being the best skater in the world. It took a lot of practice, dedication on that board, time, hours. And no matter what we put ourselves into, we have to just continue putting that dedication, that hard work, that grind. Like, you didn't become a great artist overnight, but you found something that you were fascinated with, and you're like, I don't know how else I'm going to do this other than practice this 100,000 times. And whether that's life, relationships, whatever that's going to be, you have to practice to figure out how to make this stuff work. So I think that's a rad takeaway, that how you put that perspective into place on this.
Yeah, that was a very, very well answer. I I like that.
Thank you.
But I mean, and like he's saying, you obviously had to go through a ton of failures to get to where you are, but it's like, look at what you've also become now going through all those failures. And that was another question that I actually wanted to ask you was, like, you've been now immortalized in, the Skateboarding Hall of Fame, and that has to be, pretty humbling in itself, but also just an absolute amazing accomplishment to be, have gone through so much and come to where you are now. And it's like, now you get to live in skateboard infamy.
No, it definitely is an honor, and definitely grateful to be recognized like that. But yeah, I'm gonna resort back to my faith, because my faith has actually taught me the importance of who I am, and my importance doesn't depend on all the trophies that I've won, all the money I've made, all the notoriety. And definitely there you get some good things out of that, and you definitely get some great opportunities to meet cool people and just enjoy the finer things in life. But if that's your main goal, it's a never-ending quest for satisfaction, because being at the top of the game of something and always winning and being used to being a winner, you kind of lose something in that, because then it's not fun anymore. It's like it becomes like a job, or it becomes work, and it becomes an expectation that people have on you, which puts a lot of pressure on you. And it's like, it's not a goal that you've tried to reach. You're already there, and now you're trying to keep it. It's like becoming a pro skateboarder and like all these other amateur kids want to take away from what, I helped create and take it away from me, that's life. People are just underneath you, want to take it away from you. And, you're always trying to do the next best thing. And if that is your goal, you're never going to be satisfied, because you're always going to be trying to search for something to fill that joy and happiness that's gone in a second. So like, yeah, it's cool. It's a rad honor to be, into the Hall of Fame. That was 10 years ago. But I don't really like walk around and be like, yeah, man,
I'm a Hall
of Famer, man. I've been in there for 10 years. Like I forget about it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Until you brought it up.
No, I mean,
But that's a cool,
I mean?
but that's a cool perspective to see how you dealt with being brought into the Hall of Fame. But like, it's like, yeah, that was an achievement, but that's not my highest high. That's not who I am. That's not who Steve Caballero is. It's like, sure, the world might take that's who you are, but your personal identity is more important than that title.
Totally.
Yeah.
well, I mean, everybody deals with, stuff like that differently, and it's cool getting a perspective of somebody that goes through it and seeing that it's like what you're saying, that's not your whole world. Like there's obviously, like we've been talking about, you have your art, you have motorcycles now, you have a family, you have everything that's, now that is like exceeds all of your skateboarding stuff, where you get to live this wonderful life that you have with your family now. And it's cool. It's cool to see that it's, people care about real life things other than, being a name on a plaque or whatever you want to say.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely good for the resume. If I'm trying to get a
bumps
trying to get a job
a little bit.
yeah. But I don't know. Like I said, I just have a different perspective on life. I have a different perspective of why I do things, and which makes it more comfortable and more enjoyable for me, that I'm not always. I mean, I am still chasing,
my alarm always
always going off with this guy.
I am still always chasing the attention. If I didn't, I wouldn't be on Instagram, But with that attention brings other attention to other people, which helps promote things that people want to grow. And,
you see a positive aspect out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I like seeing things go from nothing to becoming something, growing, an industry, a business, so it's cool to see projects that start from an idea and then become something that people want to be a part of, want to enjoy that with you. That's why I continue to, skate in my age, and I know that I'm influencing older people to still skate, because when they see me and they see how old I am, and they go like, well, what's my excuse? This guy is 56 and he's still, skating these, and I've come from some pretty bad injuries last year. I broke my left femur, and then 11 months later I broke my ankle. So I've been trying to even be an inspiration from that, as far as like letting people know that there's hope after those tragedies. And because I failed at, doing the right thing, making the right decision on my dirt bike, I've learned a lot from that, and hopefully I don't make that same, failure again, because I don't want to be in a wheelchair again, and I don't want to not be able to walk,
right?
But I'm willing to take that chance because I love dirt bikes, and I love the feeling it gives me to be on two wheels, man. It's just amazing, and it's fun roosting your buddies.
Yep. No, can't argue with you there, right?
Can't argue with that.
Yeah, it's funny just to do it when they're sitting in the back of the truck and just go by and throw dirt at them. I mean, there's just something about it, right?
Something about you're on your bike, you're twisting your thumb, and behind you is your buddy, and he's just taking all that roost in his face. That's fun, dude.
Yeah, that is. Just smiling as you're riding away.
That's insane.
Oh man.
All right. Well, you got anything else, Matt?
I mean, I have a lot of questions for Steve, but it's been very generous of him to give us this time this evening just to come down to his house and welcome us into his house tonight to sit down and talk to him. And I think we, definitely could have further episodes down the road with Steve and come back and talk to him again and just get different aspects of his story, because I think that's something that I really kind of want to see flourish with the podcast and with these things later on, is kind of doing follow-up and seeing where people are at different stages of their life and things that they're working through. So Steve, it's been an honor. It's been a pleasure. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your day.
Yeah, man. Thank you for coming over, and gotta thank this guy.
I love the guest appearance.
Yeah, we had Oliver as a guest as well, and he's been snoring into the mic the whole time.
Oh yeah.
You guys can follow Steve on Instagram at Steve Caballero. You have a website, Steve Caballero, where you're selling skate decks, art, and
all sorts of
t-shirts, helmets. My buddy who lives down the street, my neighbor, it was his idea to redesign my website and make it a web store to showcase everything Steve Caballero, signature this, signature that, in one place. And then a place where, fans could get a hold of me and get a hold of signatures. And so I became partners with him, and he kind of runs my whole website. I just direct people there from Instagram, and he does all the business side. And so it's been very successful. I wish I would have started a skate shop actually years ago too, because the margins that you can make on product is incredible. Yeah, it's amazing.
McGill's doing pretty good right down the street.
Oh yeah. McGill Skate Shop's been around since 1987.
Has it been that long?
Yeah.
Wow.
And he's still in business.
Still ripping. Carlsbad, right? He is Carlsbad technically on the beach down there.
Encinitas.
Oh, that is Encinitas on the beach? Okay. Yeah. Cool. But yeah, thank you, Steve. Anyone you want to shout out or thank or anything? But
just shout out my sponsors, Pal Peralta and Vans and Independent on the skate side. Merge Socks, 187 pads, Moto. I'd like to thank Kawasaki and Fox and Pirelli tires. Throttle Jockey, Thrill Seekers, CTI braces. What else? AHM, suspension, 100%. Goggles. I actually have a goggle. That's my signature goggle from 100%.
I was looking at that. So you have a signature goggle with 100%. That's rad.
That is sick.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so, I just want to thank my family for always supporting, and I want to give a big shout out to my friend Hannah in Canada. Hopefully she comes down and we can hang out and do some art together and make something happen.
Well, thank you very much for joining us again, and everybody go make sure that you go check out his website like he just said. You can get all sorts of cool stuff there, and we really appreciate your time and joining us on Just Another Failure.
Yeah, and thanks to Muertos Coffee for supporting us, getting us woken up in the morning. Use Just Another Failure at checkout for 15% off, Boost Oxygen 30 seconds out, and the Manscaping. So we appreciate everything. Thanks, Steve. We'll see you next time.
Yep.
Cheers, mate.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers, mate.